volume's a little bit low here. I'm going to see if I can fix something here. Do 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 do. Hey, recording devices. Let's see here. Maybe my levels are a bit. There we go. That fixed things, didn't it? Yeah, I don't know what the deal was with that. Now it's probably super loud. All right, now that that's fixed, as you can tell, I have a cold, and I almost didn't do tonight's episode, but then I thought I've already canceled an episode of my Saturday show, and I didn't do last Monday because the timing didn't work out. I had a lot of stuff I was doing at home, and I couldn't get to my laptop on time. So I figured, even though I was sick this time, I kind of don't have a choice. I have to do an episode. So I've got some water, and I'm on the upward slope. I'm in that area where I'm still kind of like bleh, where your voice is weird, and you cough a lot. So what do we got tonight for you? Well, this episode, I'm talking about something that everybody can get behind. Almost everybody. There's a few people out there who are like, oh, I don't really care. But those are so rare that it's hardly ever that I find somebody that's kind of like, oh, I don't really think much of it. But, so as a kid, this was always something that was everyone's favorite thing ever of all time. And so, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about. What are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about dinosaurs, or as Jeff Goldblum would say, dinosaurs. Dinosaurs, right? Good. That's enough of that joke. Let's talk about this. Oh, goodness. Cough is bad. But, yeah, so dinosaurs. Dinosaurs were here 65 million years ago. And that is a dang long time when you think about it. Like, dinosaurs were here, and I just spilled my water all over myself. Thanks a lot. But dinosaurs were here over such a long span of time that our time here as modern human people doesn't even come close. They were here a heck of a long time. Through many time periods. We know the Triassic, the Jurassic, and the Cretaceous, but there were other ones like before and after. I think the Permian was one of them, and I'm sure there were more. And I used to know a lot more about them, and those are facts that have kind of gone in and out of my brain since then. Pardon me, talking more makes me want to cough more. But, yeah. And, and there's a lot of variety in dinosaurs. Like, they're still finding new dinosaur species, which a lot of them are just variations of current species, but some of them are still brand new, and they're different from other ones that we've heard about. And, the wild thing is that dinosaurs, after a fashion, still technically kind of exist today, because if you believe in the theories of evolution, or even if you don't, who knows, you can just call them relatives, I suppose. But dinosaurs over time, the ones that survived the various cataclysms that were around towards the end of their time on the planet, became our modern birds, which is the prevailing theory. Yeah, it's just a theory because there's still a lot of, there's not a lot of hard and fast proof. I mean, these things have been gone for a long time, and so every fossil record is kind of precious. But yeah, dinosaurs became our modern birds. But there are other things that were around with the dinosaurs that exist in pretty much the same way as they used to, only maybe reduced in size over time because the oxygen content in the air has gone down compared to when they were alive. And that has a big impact on this kind of stuff. There were huge insects bigger than a person back during in the time of dinosaurs. And The reason was because insects' growth is dictated in part by their oxygen intake. And if there's more oxygen in the air, an insect can get awfully large. That's how spiders' sizes are maintained. And so a lot of other creatures are probably the same way. You had bigger lung capacities, you were bigger as a creature. Because most of our air that we breathe now, it's composed of oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, a few other things, but we have a pretty large amount of nitrogen. And we actually can't breathe pure, just straight oxygen on its own for too long, because it would end up being toxic. It's too much. So when you get an oxygen tank, if you need like assisted breathing or things like that, generally it's not pure just oxygen. There's usually another element in there to help offset it a little bit, but it's more of an increased oxygen than pure oxygen. There's some science for you. Goodness. And so yeah, dinosaurs, huge variety. We think they turned into modern birds, but like I said, there's other things, there's other creatures that existed around the time of the dinosaurs that are still with us today in more or less the same kind of forms that they were then, and that's the crocodilians, like crocodiles, alligators, that kind of thing, and sharks, megalodon. We don't have, as far as we know, any megalodon-sized sharks here, but we do have some pretty big sharks. And most modern sharks are pretty much indistinguishable from how they used to be back in the old days. And speaking of crocodilians again, there was a crocodilian that was around during the time of the dinosaurs that was pretty famous. It was called Dinosuchus. Dinosuchus, huh? And snakes. Big snakes, big python snakes. There was a snake called Titanoboa, one of the biggest snakes ever recorded as far as the fossil record goes. These things were huge. Like, this is a snake whose head is as large as a person. You think like Anaconda, from the movie Anaconda, you think that's a big snake? This was like even bigger than that. This was a snake that could have theoretically battled against like a Tyrannosaurus Rex and that kind of thing. Big snake. So yeah, dinosaurs. What kind of dinosaurs were there? There were all sorts of dinosaurs. You had, of course, you had the carnivores, and you had big, small. You had, everybody knows, T-Rex, Tyrannosaurus Rex, big, giant, bipedal dinosaur with small arms, and huge head full of teeth. And there's been a lot of theories over the years about T-Rex. Some, at different points in history, they've thought maybe T-Rex was a scavenger. Then they thought T-Rex was an efficient hunter. Then they thought T-Rex was an ambush predator. And now there's possibly a school of thought that thinks that T-Rex had feathers. Like, they believe that Velociraptor had feathers. Like, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here for a minute. A lot of people by now have probably seen the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies, right? And that's our closest and best visual representation of what dinosaurs could have looked like. But they took a lot of liberties, or at least they were based around the time of what we understood dinosaurs to be like. So the velociraptors in Jurassic Park are bigger than actual velociraptors by quite a bit. They're about as big as a Utah raptor, which is another kind of very similar dinosaur with the claws and the teeth and everything. But Utah raptor may have had feathers, and Velociraptor was about the size of a large dog, and may have also had feathers. So, you know, they got that wrong in the movies, but still. And so you had a lot of variation in predators. You also had a lot of variation in the herbivores and in the plant eaters, because you had, everybody knows Stegosaurus, you got those big hexagonal plates along its back with the spikes on tail. We get we got Ankylosaurus, which is like a big armored turtley looking guy with a big tail with a club at the end of it, so he slams into stuff. Who else? We got the Brontosaurus, the Apatosaurus, the Brachiosaurus, all the different big long-necked Diplodocus, all those big long-necked plant-eating dinosaurs on 4 legs. And so you had a lot of variation there. You had a lot of bipedal plant-eating dinosaurs as well. You had Parasaurolophus. That's a big word. A lot of dinosaur names are big because they're scientific classifications. So Parasaurolophus, that's one of your hadrosaurs, right? Lambeosaurus. And you had Corythosaurus. All these are dinosaurs that could have made sounds out of different crests on their heads, right? And so it's interesting that there was such a wide variety of these things, and now they're gone. Like we don't have any around today. We just have like what's left in the modern amphibians and lizards and bird species and things of that nature, and it's super interesting. And they're not exactly sure either what happened to them all. Like for a long time, when I was a kid growing up, and it's still kind of the dominant theory now, but it's kind of facing some challenges. But the dominant theory was always a big asteroid came from space and slammed into the Yucatan Peninsula. Because if you go to the Yucatan Peninsula in Central America and you go under the water, you can see that there's a crater there from an impact. And the common belief was that meteorite slammed into the planet, caused such global climate devastation that the dinosaurs just couldn't survive. And we had Ice Age and a lot of different things. And so that's being kind of challenged nowadays. Like there's a few other different theories that have cropped up. Like the thought is that perhaps other different environmental things were happening at the time, or that there were diseases present that had started to form because the planet was changing long before the asteroid hit. The early mammals had just started showing up. You had like small little like mice-like, chipmunk-like creatures and things like that, and then the first real birds and creatures of that nature. And so they were more adaptable. So and that's the one thing that people don't think about. Our planet, has been in a state of flux for a long time. It's always been kind of changing. And we look at all the different environmental things that are changing here, and it's really a short, tiny span compared to all the different millions and billions of years and the different phases that the planet has gone through. We've gone through multiple ice ages, primordial soup, all that good stuff. And I think it's going to keep changing. Like, there's only so much you can do. I'm not going to go on any sort of rant about climate change or anything like that, because that's not what the show's about. But there's only so much that we can do, really, as far as trying to keep that under control. The planet is going to do what the planet's going to do, whether we change what we're going to do or not. And that's just kind of an ugly truth that nobody likes to listen to. But anyway, back to dinosaurs. I'm sure as a kid, everybody had their favorite dinosaur, right? My daughter, her favorites, she likes T-Rex, of course. I mean, why not? She also likes Spinosaurus. And they're finding all kinds of new evidence about Spinosaurus, so this is pretty cool, because she gets to see the science develop as they do it. So this is an exciting time for her. For a lot of us, like T-Rex has been pretty much settled for a while, but Spinosaurus is they're finding new stuff all the time. It's a big carnivore. One of the biggest meat-eating carnivores that's ever been on the planet. And it's long. It's got this long snout, kind of like a long crocodile's head, and a big bipedal body with smaller arms, but not tiny arms, slightly bigger than T-Rex's arms, and this big sail on its back. And they've figured out over time that there's also a little bit of a sail all down its tail, and that it was semi-aquatic. Like, it spent a lot of time in shallow water and things like that, and it acted a lot like a crocodile, but it could go on land and chase things down. And so it was a pretty dominating predator of its time. And if you've seen, again, the Jurassic Park movies, it was the big beastie from Jurassic Park 3, if I remember correctly, the third one. Because the first one, of course, you had all the establishment. You had the T-Rex and you had the Velociraptors and things. And the second one, you had the two T-Rexes and the baby T-Rex. And then the third one, you had the Spinosaurus. Right? And it was a pretty vicious creature, although they think it mostly ate fish because of its environment. But, we don't know. We don't know. But the Jurassic Park movies do tend to get a lot of things wrong. Like I've said, like they got the raptors kind of backwards. Another thing they got wrong was Dilophosaurus, which is that spitting one that had the big frill around its neck with the two ridges on its head. Dilophosaurus, I guess they haven't found any real evidence for sure that said it had that neck frill. And they also found that it was, on average, a much larger dinosaur. It was in the movies, it's a small dinosaur, kind of. It's little. It can fit inside of a car with you and attack you and chomp on you. But from what they're gathering from fossil records, the newer fossil records, is it was actually bigger, like Utahraptor sized, or even slightly larger than that. So it was a beast. It was a bit of a beast. A bit of a beast. And there's another one recently. I haven't seen the newest movie. I have not seen the newest Jurassic World movie. But I know that there's... And I'm trying to... one of these days I'll have to see it to see how they justify this. I've heard that there's a Therizinosaurus, and that's another big name. You're kind of like, oh man, you're throwing all these names at us, and they're complicated. Therizinosaurus. From what I had known ahead of time, in my limited dinosaur knowledge these days, is that Therizinosaurus was an herbivore with like a beak, and it had these huge, super ridiculously long claws that were like big swords. But it didn't use those for combat. It used those to like scrape off bark off of trees and like to reach up and get fruit and different things and dig for, I don't know, roots and stuff like that. In the Jurassic World movie, the newest one, as of this episode anyway, there's a lot of, apparently it chases people and it tries to attack people with its claws and stuff, and it's vicious and it's aggressive. And I don't know if that's based on any new science, like maybe they're starting to think maybe it was a meat eater or not, but I don't know. It seems like that's something that they got wrong. But I'll have to see the movie to find out. Yeah. So yeah, favorite dinosaurs. Everybody's got their favorite dinosaurs. Those are my daughter's favorite. Her mom's favorite dinosaurs are Stegosaurus and Dracorex. Dracorex is kind of like, it's you've seen those dinosaurs that are bipedal, walk up on 2 feet, and they've got those round, super round dome heads, and they just clack at each other like goats will clack at each other and deer will clack at each other with their horns. But Dracorex is kind of like that. It's got like this big dome on its head and it's got a beak. It's a plant eater. It's got spikes and stuff. And then when I was a kid, I didn't really... I mean, I liked some of the big ones. I liked Carnotaurus Carnotaurus. He was like a similar to T-Rex but smaller. Had these big eye ridges over his eyes, these big like horny ridges over his eyes, and his arms were even smaller for whatever reason. Like they were ridiculously tiny, absolutely useless. Why do you have them? Who knows? But my favorite wasn't actually even really a dinosaur. I mean, it was considered part of the dinosaurs, but it wasn't. And it's like nowadays it's not considered a dinosaur. It's some like just another kind of reptile that was around at the time. But it was Dimetrodon, and he was really low to the ground, all fours like an alligator crocodile. Big sail on its back, kind of like Spinosaurus, but short legs. And it didn't have a long crocodile-like head. It had a short head. With teeth and stuff in it, and Dimetrodon, that was always my favorite as a kid. I was always a big fan. Oh, pardon me, that sounds gross. Just sniffing on some stuff in my nose there. And so yeah, everybody's got their favorite dinosaur. And there's been a lot of different movies about dinosaurs over the years. The most famous, of course, as we know, has been Jurassic Park franchise. But there was the very first dinosaur movie was from, I think, the 30s. It was like 1939 or something like that. It was called The Lost World, and it was written based off of a story written by, I believe, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle called The Lost World, and which was an inspiration for Jurassic Park. And but The Lost World involved them, like a team of people going to an island that had been untouched by time, and they find dinosaurs, and they bring one home, and it escapes and starts tearing up like New York or San Francisco or something like that. They used that as an inspiration for the second half of the Jurassic Park, The Lost World, Jurassic Park 2, because the book for the Jurassic Park Lost World didn't have that at all. If you read the book, they don't bring anything back to the city. Everything goes to a disaster, and they never bring anything back. But for the movie, they fudged it, and they took some loose inspiration from the original 1939. I believe it's 39. I'm probably wrong on the date. I have this feeling that that's what it is, but I'm probably wrong on the date. But you got that. That was the very first dinosaur movie, motion picture that we ever had. There's a new one coming out that I'm actually interested in. It's called 65, and it's supposed to be, reminiscent of 65 million years ago. And it's got Adam Driver and somebody else, and it's some sci-fi thing where a guy and his daughter, I don't know if they go back in time or what exactly happens, or maybe they're from a group of humans that live on a different planet, and they come to our planet during our time 65 million years ago, and they find that there's dinosaurs here and things. So I'm interested in seeing what that one's like. It looks decent. It's got all the things that I like about a movie. It's got dinosaurs, it's got possible time travel, some sci-fi stuff, and some survival elements and things like that. So I'm going to see about checking that out and see if that's any good. But we've had dinosaurs as inspiration for a lot of other things too. Like you can get dinosaur toys. Of course, you get dinosaur movies, dinosaur books, dinosaur cartoon shows. My daughter watches, or she watched. She's kind of starting to grow out of some of the younger shows. She's got this show that she watched when she was younger called Dinosaur Train, which of course is not very factual all the time. It does have a lot of good dinosaur facts sprinkled in. And then she watches another one called Dino Dana, which is based off of an earlier show called Dino Dan, about a kid that sees dinosaurs in his modern times that nobody else can see, and he learns facts about them and things like that. So she's really into those. But they're also like they've gotten into a lot of other different things. Like you guys know me, I'm into transforming robots, right? And there are quite a few dinosaur transforming robots that transform from a dinosaur into a robot and back and forth. And so they've got that. There's all kinds of them out there. And some of them are cuddly, some of them aren't. So they're kind of part of our culture. Like dinosaurs are a big part of our modern culture, whether they're here or not. And we're fascinated by them. And, of course, when they first found the bones, like people wondered, oh, these might be dragons, the dragons from medieval times and things like that. And then they kept on digging and discovering that, no, these are distinct species and things like that. Now, there are some religious people, some really hardcore religious people, who don't believe that the planet is 65 million years old, or even older than that, because it's older than that. They don't believe that. They believe it's only 6,000 to 7,000 years old. Based on what evidence? I don't remember. I've never looked into it too much. And when confronted by these bones, they don't believe that the bones... They believe the bones are a cosmic prank, basically. That the bones were put on the planet as a prank to make the gullible people believe it. But if you're not gullible, you won't believe it. Which I think is kind of silly. I don't want to go on a tangent and say anything bad about, people who are into religion and things like that. That's an entirely different set of shows. This show is lighthearted. This show isn't about that. But I just thought I would mention it because it seems kind of silly to me. Like, why would some... I don't know, why would anybody in the cosmic space want to play a prank like that? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. There's no payoff, I guess. But yeah, dinosaurs are part of our culture. They're everywhere. And they're like... And it's because you can find dinosaur bones just about everywhere because they've been preserved in a lot of different ways as fossils. North America had the T-Rex and things like that. You had dinosaurs in China. You had dinosaurs in Russia and in Europe and in South America. You really had dinosaurs all over the planet. Because this is around the time when all the continents were one big mass, one big land mass, Pangea, and then Gondwana, and then all the other different names that we gave the different parts that started to break up before we started getting our own continent names and things like that when we became enlightened about all those things. So you can go just about anywhere in the world, and if you do enough digging, you're liable to find a fossil, which is great. It's interesting. And there's places here in the United States where you can go to. They're like dinosaur parks, like fossil digging parks, where you can go out under the heat and the sun and you can dig in the desert and find your own dinosaur bones. And if it's really super significant, I guess some of these parks will be like, hey, we'll buy that from you because this is a significant find. And if it's just, an average everyday, oh yeah, that's a pretty nice specimen, you can keep it for yourself, which is nice. We went to something that was not at all like that, but it was something that my daughter liked. We went to something last year, I think it was last year, 2022, pretty sure, called Jurassic Quest, which is billed as the largest collection of animatronic dinosaurs in North America, and they're a traveling show. And they take these animatronic dinosaurs and take them to big indoor arenas and in civic centers, and you can walk around and see them, and they'll roar at you and things like that. And you can ride on some of them. And there's activities and interactive stuff, and she had a good time. She got a lot of souvenirs, and she had a lot of fun. There was something else. Jurassic Quest. I was going to say something else. What was it? Now I don't remember. It was right there. But we did the Jurassic Quest thing, traveling show. And, oh yeah, there's a local toy store here, actually. There's a local toy store here. just a little bit north of me. It's called Sir Troy's. It's a local toy chain. They've got 3 locations in this part of Ohio. And they have little dinosaur figurines, right, that you can buy, little plastic dinosaur figurines. But they have a life-sized raptor figurine that actually moves and roars at you and stuff like that. And that's pretty cool, too. So there's a local, you can go there and you can pose with it and things like that. And that's just like 10 minutes away. Not even that, maybe like 5 minutes from where I live. And that's cool. Yeah, life-size raptor with like the feathers and everything else on it. So yeah, dinosaurs. And I could probably go on and on and on and on and on about dinosaurs. But I'm running out of steam because I got this cold and everything. And I've hit my minimum, which is my half-hour mark at least. So I'm going to wrap it up. But if you guys are listening to this on YouTube or Facebook or wherever, then definitely comment your favorite dinosaur, because I'd love to hear it. And let me know what you think about dinosaurs. Do you think it was a cosmic prank? Or do you really think it's impressive and it's something that we should be doing more digging and investigating? And maybe there's a lesson to be learned from the disappearance of these great beasts. Huh? Maybe. Could be. But that's it. That's what I'm going to do for this time. I know the beginning was kind of rocky. I didn't have, for some reason, the mic was being weird about volumes. I don't know what the deal was with that. But anyway, hope you guys had fun. Let me know what your favorite dinosaurs are. I would love to hear about them. I would love to hear you talk to me about dinosaurs all day long. Okay? So, I'll see you guys next week. Don't know what I'm talking about yet, but we'll find out. That'll be episode 8. Until then, have a good one.